when it opens, he would have been cutting the grass, he would have been doing whatever he could to help.
This is a beautiful place. But not there.
Sir, what is your experience in addiction? What's your education in addiction?
Sorry, I don't have to do with it.
Okay, so take the 5 minutes and read about it. Okay? And then you can come back to me and you can ask me a question. Okay, that's not educating yourself.
How many years have never been addicted to anything? How many years did you coach hockey? 20 years?
I've coached football for 25 years almost.
You coached hockey for 20 years. You never had a player that was addicted to anything? That's bullshit.
Then you have your head in the sand.
So I won't
Different time, different era, buddy.
I won't get into a debate about anything. If you have a legitimate question about the addiction issue or anything like that, and you want to know, that's fine. But if you're going to throw fear-mongering things at me and, oh, I heard this or I read this in the paper, I'm not going to put up with that. I'm not. And that's the police officer in me coming out. Not just a grieving father who's lost his son.
Yes.
Because that's another step. So I appreciate everybody, and this is for this family today. How was your MRI? So, you want to turn off? We're going to go this way. So I thank you for everybody, and remember, the purple is about the awareness. People ask you what it's for, tell them. It's about awareness. Tell them what it's about. Tell them it's about drug addiction. Tell them people are dying daily, weekly, monthly in our province. Thank you.
Adele?
Hi, thank you everybody for coming. Wearing your colors, wearing purple. Today's about sharing our story of our battles with addiction. What we need to do as a community is embrace our fallen as well as the victorious. It's very ironic that we're at an arena where the community banded together to watch kids play sports and celebrate their success. But as a community, we failed if we don't recognize that our children are also suffering. It's one thing to band together and celebrate victory, but the strength of the community is how we band together and take care of those in need. Now, if you think there's a report just out recently before this treatment center is built. Property crime in West Winnipeg is on the rise. Directly linked to the meth epidemic that's out there right now. People who are shunning this center being built in the community just don't know or don't want to know. There's a VHF facility in St. Norbert. Been in existence for years. I really implore you to take a walk around St. Norbert, or tell me if you've been to that farmer's market. Tell me if you've purchased any vegetables or produce that are on sale there. And know that recovering addicts probably stock those shelves. Know that those recovering addicts are being integrated into the community through programs within St. Norbert. Ask the neighbors there. Ask them about their property value. Ask them if they've suffered any type of ill effects from having that center there. When was the last time you heard a crime spree in St. Norbert?
Never.
Where's St. Norbert? Another question you have to ask yourself, what do you think's happening at the center right now? When you look at this building, what do you see?
Nothing.
Nothing. What do you think happens at an abandoned public facility? There are bad things happening in your community right now, and if you are blind to that, then I don't know. The first thing we have to do is open our eyes and listen to other people. We can be shelled up in a hole and try to live our own existence within the confines of one simple box, right? But this is a community. This is a community. We're all citizens of the community, right? We are only going to get better if we band together. My son, my stepson Gabriel, 20 years old, lost his battle. He grew up in a house with love. He grew up playing baseball. He grew up being in every activity. He grew up with brothers, sisters, parents, friends that loved him. The thing he loved to do the most is to connect with people and welcome every person into his life, all walks. He was such a loving, creative person. He wrote every day, how much he wished he never touched drugs. How much he wished he was a better man. And how much he wished he could be the man that he always thought he would be. People who think that it's a choice really have no idea. This center is going to provide help for people in need. It's a long-term treatment facility. The idea is that anybody who wants help can get help. If it takes a year, 2 years, 3 years, at no cost to them. These are people that are voluntarily going to come to this center seeking treatment. The sad fact is, in this city, it's so hard to find help. Even when the addict and their families are seeking help, there are too many hoops to jump through. You call AFM, you have your family, your loved one who's suffering from this illness. They finally say, yes, I need help. I'm so desperate, I need to get help. Mom, dad, brother, sister, please help me get help. You call AFM, the first thing that they tell you is, yes, we can get you in to an intake appointment in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Then what do? Your child's suffering from psychosis induced by meth. You take them to HSC, to emergency, to the psych ward. They tell you, I'm sorry, yes, he's suffering from psychosis, but it's induced by meth. I'm sorry, you're going to have to pick up your son. Who are we to know what to do with that? Far too often, the responsibility of getting help and getting treatment is left on the addict. The addict that's suffering from mental health issues as well. So now, this person who is sick is supposed to do this on their own, suffering from mental illness and suffering from a debilitating addiction. And because the way addiction is looked at in society, you know what families do? They struggle and do this in silence. You know how many people have reached out to me in silence, sharing their stories? But guess what? It's your neighbor, it's your cousin, it's your relative, it's your doctor, lawyer, your teacher. If you don't think addiction's touching you right now, you better give your head a shake. Because it's people that voice their staunch opposition to things like this that create this stigma, that make people feel ashamed to share their stories of struggle. Look around you, and really take a look around you, and I'm addressing you guys. Take a look around you and talk to these people here. Find out where we're from. Find out what we do for a living and how much love is in our families. Because until you start communicating to these people, you'll never know. You'll never know. Everybody has a story. Everybody. And the biggest thing is when we speak from experience, we speak from our suffering. We speak of what we know firsthand. Get to know your neighbor. Put your arms around your neighbor because you know they're suffering all around us. Everybody here, if you've got a story to share, let's voice it. Let's talk about it. Because you know what? If we've lost a loved one, and these are words that the Oaks have given to me. We're all part of a club that we really wish we weren't a part of. But you know what we have to do? Each member of this club, we got to hold on. We have to hold on to each other, support each other, and hope to God that we'll never have to welcome another member. There isn't a coincidence that support is being vocal now, because we're tired of it. We're tired of suffering. We're tired of going to every corner, turning over every stone, and looking everywhere for help and for none to be found. This is the start. This will be the first, and this will be the first of many that are needed in this community, because this is a healthcare issue. We need to take care of our sick, and we need to get better now. I love all you guys. Thank you for coming out, and I hope to hear your stories soon.
Thank you for being patient. Don't be scared.
My name is Christy Paul, and I'm your neighbor. I'm one of these people. One of those people. My son skated and played hockey at this arena. My boys went to Voyageur School. They were graduating from Sturgeon Heights. This has been our home for 18 years. And without a treatment center, we would have lost my son, Bruce. I haven't really said that out loud a lot. My son is now clean and sober for 2 years. But he waited 2 months to get into a treatment center. And without the support of some pretty amazing community people who rallied around us, we may not have been able to wait for that. I don't have fancy words, and I'm a mom. And this problem is here. It's all over this neighborhood. And all I want is to say that we're here to do something about it. We're here to offer a place for people to get help that want it and that need it. And that they don't have to be ashamed and they don't have to hide. And we as families don't either. That's all. Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to share? Oh, there you go.
Hi. I wasn't planning on sharing today, but just listening to everybody, I thought I had to stand here as the face of addiction. It's about reducing the stigma. And my name is Jody, and I'm gratefully in recovery. Not too long ago, I made a decision. I had been in and out of recovery for quite some time. I was a member of the military for a couple of decades where I had good support for addiction. I had good support for mental health. But then I released from the military and I was lost. And I was slipping and sliding, and I just didn't have those resources anymore. I didn't have my family. I wasn't from Winnipeg. So I made a choice when I was near death not too long ago to give it one more fight. I got myself to the Grace Hospital and I literally fought for my life. I had to self-advocate by myself. I had to convince a panel by teleconference of mental health professionals that I needed help. It was extremely exhausting and difficult because I was so ill at the time. But I did it, and it was the best decision I made. I spent about 2 weeks on a mental health ward, and I don't see any shame in saying that. I got the help I needed. It was exactly what I needed to deal with my addictions, to have my feet on the ground again. And then ironically, as soon as my feet were on the ground again, I broke one. And I got to see the comparison of the difference of going into a merge with a broken leg. Nobody questioned me.
No, come on.
Nobody asked me over and over again, are you sure your leg is broken? Do you really think it's broken? Go home. Here's some painkillers, go home. No, I was...
panel you did that time, eh? Didn't have to panel you that time.
That's right. I did not have to sit before a panel. I didn't have to convince any doctor that my leg was broken. They put me in a cast. Within 3 days, I saw an orthopedic surgeon, and every Tuesday, I see my orthopedic surgeon. Because it's that simple. You know, a broken bone is out there. It's easy. People think my cast is cute. They think my puppy is cute. But what they don't realize is, you know, mental illness is hidden. I don't think, you know, for a lot of you who don't understand addiction, I don't think you would pick me out at the shopping mall and be worried that I could steal something from you. I'm guessing that you wouldn't think that an addict would have a cute puppy dog on their crutch. Or put purple stickers on their cast. But they do. And I'm just so glad that I'm a different person today than when I was in active addiction, because I'm not proud of the way, of some of the things I did. I have to say, when I heard that there's a few police officers here, I kind of flinched and looked closely at you and thought to myself, oh my goodness, have we met before? We might have. Quite possible. So, when I was in the military, I went to a treatment center called Edgewood in Nanaimo, BC. It was right in the middle of a residential area. There was houses all around us. We walked the neighborhood every Sunday. We were welcomed in the community. Spent 2.5 months there. I progressed a lot in my recovery, but unfortunately at the time, the military didn't have the resources for extended care. So I did continue to struggle when I was out, but I do not regret going there. And when I heard about the center going up, I think it is fantastic. It is the perfect setting. It is scenic. It is tranquil. And I can assure you, when I was in Nanaimo, there were no drug addicts hanging around. What drug addict would we want to be around people in recovery? That's not where they want to be. You don't see people drinking outside of an AA meeting. That's not their crowd. It's not where they want to be. So I'm really grateful that I'm here today. And I'm glad that I had this chance to stand here. Thank you.
Anybody else? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Alisa and this is my grandmother Charlotte. January 17th of this year, we lost my cousin Adam to an overdose heroin overdose. Sorry, I'm a little nervous up here. I first off want to say to the white people over here, like, you come here, well, that's what you were called in an article, so, I mean, we're called that in an article, that's just what I'm called. I apologize for that. I just want to ask that you be respectful enough to listen to the people up here instead of showing up to protest something and then not even listen. I just want to thank everybody here for starting this center, and I think it's a wonderful thing. My aunt wishes she could be here today, but she didn't feel strong enough to actually come.
I just hope that there will be more and more centers like this where people can come and get help. It's needed so badly.
My cousin struggled with addiction for probably about 6 years. He died at the age of 21. We'll be spreading his ashes in 2 weeks. I tried really, really hard. I used to run group homes. I tried so hard with the training that I had. I've had drug addiction training. I had all the resources to send him places. I, had him signed up for BHF. I had, he was going to skip the wait list. I had everything set out. And then one night he went out and he made a mistake when he was high. And he was arrested. And he was in jail for over a year. And they don't do any treatment in jail. So he came out worse than he was when he went in. And the addiction got worse, and there was no help for him. And we're just very grateful that there's something like this that's going to open up, and it's a long-term facility, which is what's needed for those types of addictions. So I just want to thank you.
Anybody else would like to share? Hi, my name is Lisa. I am Jennifer's sister. We just lost her son 2 months or a month ago, Gabriel. The reason I'm up here is not to maybe just talk about so much of what we see on the outside, it's what we don't see on the inside. And I feel that being a family member of a third generation now, that their life has been lost due to addiction. Our dad was troubled for years, growing up with a father that was addicted, not quite understanding what it meant. It went from alcoholism to probably weed, and then later on in life it went to needles, and then eventually what took his life was pills. He was a beautiful man. We miss him every day. He died at the age of 58, too young as far as I'm concerned. 2 months ago we lost a cousin, so the next generation of my generation, at the age of 40. She had started going into some programs, but of course lost her way. Tried to get help, would steal just to get money for drugs because she had no other resources or didn't know what to do, or just was with her parents for 5 weeks before she died. Her parents found her dead on the floor. Not a good scene, very upsetting, but that's what happens. That's reality. July 29th, I was supposed to be at work. I got a call from my brother-in-law just telling me that he didn't know what to do with my sister because Gabriel had taken his life. I couldn't get in my car fast enough to be there for my sister, knowing what she had been doing and her husband Riddell and the whole family for the last 2 years. And not only what she was doing and giving up a part of her life, or almost all her life. And if you did have an opportunity to read the Winnipeg Free Press from a mother's point of view, that's how my sister spent her life over the last 2 years. She was an FBI agent. There wasn't any place she didn't know or hadn't traveled in the city to find Gabriel if she couldn't connect with him. She'd check up on him regularly, all throughout the day. He started a job about 3 days before he actually took his life, thinking that that might help him. He struggled. He worked construction for 12-hour days, and she'd pick him up. He said he was so exhausted, he didn't know how he made it through the day. The day he died was probably the saddest part, knowing that a 20-year-old who knew he wasn't who he wanted to be, and also said that he wanted to start over. Starting over at the age of 20. He hadn't even grown up. He hadn't even lived life. But all the experiences that he had gone through were challenging. He would tell Jen, there's so many things in my head, I can't even begin to tell you what they are, because I'm afraid of them. And knowing the day that he actually did take his life, it wasn't because he was being selfish. I don't believe he was being selfish the day he did. He was afraid. He never wanted to hurt his family, and he didn't know what may come of it. A treatment center like this would be a great place for him to be, and other people so much like him. My sister had reached out to another treatment center, I believe it was in Gimli, and they told her if she had $20,000 that they would take him. That wasn't something that was available. Some of those treatment centers are only available for 45 days at a time. Sometimes you need more than 45 days. All I can say is that our family is broken, but all we can do is rely on each other for the love and support. And seeing my nephew the way he took his life was very upsetting. But I know by talking to more people, it's too common. There's too many lives that have been lost at such an early age. And I want to have something, and I'm for all of this. And if any of the words I said can help any of you, or just getting this out, I hope so. Hey, is there anyone else that would like to share on the mic, or would you just like to wander around and talk to each other, or come on up?
What a beautiful day. This is an amazing day where people can come and share stories of hope, strength, peace, and comfort. And I'm no different than anybody standing here today. And you looking at me, you wouldn't know that I'm an addict in recovery. I've been a recovered addict for almost 9 years. And I don't say this, I don't want applause, and I don't want accolades or anything like that. But I struggled with addiction for, I'm in my 40s now, so over half my life. My father was an addict and an alcoholic, and two days ago we celebrated his 27th anniversary of his death due to alcoholism and addiction. If you don't understand addiction and don't know addiction and what it's like to be someone who has addiction, what goes on within that person, you will never understand, you will never get it. And you will live with and help perpetuate stigma, and you will keep people from reaching out and asking for help that is so desperately needed. My father tried for years to get clean and sober. And something happens within an addict's mind that we go places where we normally wouldn't go. We do things we normally wouldn't do. We say things we normally wouldn't say. And people, unfortunately, what happens is people associate behaviors of an addict, an alcoholic, to the person and not to the disease of addiction. And and that creates fear. If you look at me, you would never know that I was homeless at one point in my life, and that I ate out of garbage cans on the streets of Toronto. That I slept in recycling bins because that was the warmest place to sleep. When you could pile broken down cardboard boxes on top of you. That was the warmest place to be. That was the safest place to be. I never once woke up and said, you know what, I can't wait to stick a needle in my arm. I never once woke up saying, I can't wait to put a pipe to my mouth. I can't wait to get high. I never once said that. The first time I got high, I was 12 years old. 12 years old. I know people who have been addicted to drugs since they were 7 years old, 6 years old. So the disease of addiction, like any other disease, knows no age, knows no race, knows no religious affiliation, and it will affect anybody and everybody. I fought for a long time to get help, and the first time I went to a treatment center, I was young and I didn't, you know, I had a really good upbringing. I've heard people say, well, you didn't love your family enough. You didn't love your children enough. My father was an RCMP officer. My mother was a banker. And let me tell you, they loved me. They loved me to pieces. And sometimes I think I saw somebody with a shirt that says sometimes love isn't enough. I believe that's what it says, young lady over here. I think she's got it on. Sorry, I don't mean to point you out, but and that's really true. You can't love anybody into recovery. You can't love anybody, you know, into help. I worked today. I worked in mental health and addictions. I work in a facility that is in a very well known and one of the most desirable places to live in the city right now. And I can tell you that the crime rate has not gone up. I can tell you that property values have gone up. In fact, property values have gone up. Sorry? Anyways, they don't. It just doesn't happen. You don't have drug dealers standing around our facilities, hanging out, waiting for our clients or participants to come out and get high, because it just doesn't happen. They don't hang out in these areas. It's not good for business. So I got help through a facility out in Ontario that was in a residential area. I went to a second stage recovery home that offered me structure and stability and programming. And if it wasn't for that, I probably would not be standing here today, being able to talk to you about what happens with addicts and addiction. And I can tell you that it's an epidemic that is getting worse. They said there could be 6 treatment centers in the city. There could probably be double that. And there would still probably be need for more. There's the waiting lists. You know, somebody was talking about the waiting lists, and I know personally, with trying to get friends into certain facilities, if you don't have $20,000 or $45,000, you're waiting 6 months to a year, and that's unacceptable. And we have family members, we have children.